Fire Emblem Engage is above all else a game of contrasts, and I don't just mean the protagonist's wild colour scheme, although I suppose that is rather poetic for the game itself. The aesthetics of Fire Emblem Engage clearly have varying degrees of quality put into its individual areas. Side note, I'll be making many comparisons to Three Houses throughout this video, as I'm intimately familiar with that game. If you'd like, you can check out a gameplay review I made of Three Houses. Firstly, let's look at the character designs for Fire Emblem Engage. This is a wide variety of shapes, designs, and archetypes. Not all of them are winners, such as Aelia and Diamant, but then you come across these wildly entertaining designs like Tamira and the Four Hounds. I love how these characters are just plastered with random accessories and doodads that just makes them stand out. And believe me, in a bloated cast like this one, you need to stand out. It almost raises the bar for Fire Emblem character designs. Engage certainly has better designs than the regal uniforms of the Garreg Mach Monastery. Of course, the wildness of the designs do lead to far more failures in the visual department, and it's undoubtedly inconsistent. Another issue with these crazy characters is that when standard fantasy characters are introduced, it just makes them look dull by comparison. For example, Vander is just a stereotypical gruff knight, while Palette is a moe wearing skull face paint. It's totally crazy, and as I said before, contrasting. You can pick out all the characters who look like they just went through the superglue and Halloween store and make the game look like it was designed by Hirohiko Araki's less successful younger brother. But say whatever you will about this vibrantly colourful cast, there is no getting around the fact that they put more effort into the character designs than any other aesthetic part of this game. Ilios has got to be one of the blandest fantasy worlds I've seen. I mean, Fodlan didn't have any overworld, so there was no exploration, and it certainly didn't feel connected in any way, but Fodlan feels far more like a lived-in world than Ilios ever did. Ilios painfully separates its generic fantasy world into generic biomes with generic populations living in each one. The peaceful Grass Kingdom, the strong Mountain Kingdom, the fun Desert Kingdom, and the evil Ice Kingdom. It's not the most complex dynamic I've ever explored. We are ice people, so we are withdrawn and cold, and wish to spread our darkness, yada yada yada. But what Engage lacks with its unique world, it makes up for in spades with its amazing character designs, which I already covered. I guess I don't have a lot of nice things to say about the aesthetics of this game. I think the fantastic character designs hurt the bland world design even more, because these characters have such distinct personalities that looking at them standing in front of a fuzzy 2D backdrop looks wrong, like if you put Aloy into a Call of Duty level. Moving on to the Somniel, and I just don't know what the point of this facility is. In Three Houses, the monastery was the main feature of the game. Everything revolved around it. And Engage has gone to great lengths to separate itself from Three Houses as much as possible, as evidenced by the return of the weapon triangle and a more generic fantasy plot. So if you're trying to get back to your roots after you changed up the formula and it was the most successful game in your franchise, why even keep the hub at all? It doesn't make sense lore-wise for it to be here like it did in Three Houses. At the end of a mission, you'd return back to your home base. That made sense. In Engage, we're constantly forging a path across the continent, so why would we go back to the beginning of the journey after every battle? The only noteworthy things to do in the Somniel are gift-giving to your favourite units and the arena, and I could write a whole paragraph about why the arena is terrible, but I won't bore you with that. Ultimately, the Somniel is totally superfluous, as everything of note and importance worth doing there can be accessed from the menu on the world map. Which brings us to the menus themselves. In Three Houses, the UI looked like it was designed by Garreg Mach Monastery, and all the menus looked like it was issued for the faculty, like it was printed on rustic parchment and everything had this professional feel to it. I loved how the stats were separated by lines, like it was a student writing on a school-provided piece of paper. So how do you follow up on some of the best JRPG UI of the last 5 years? Make everything blue. This has got to be one of the messiest UIs I've seen since Death Stranding. Now, yes, Fire Emblem has hundreds of stats, abilities, and systems that it needs to display for every single unit conveniently, but the colour scheming and layout make it impossible to find the relevant information. Now, I know it's a colossal task to present all the information coherently, but Three Houses did it flawlessly and with a diegetic style. Engage just has this staleless, lifeless blue conveying everything about its stats. It's not even a pleasing shade of blue like sky blue or ocean blue, it's just plain blue. After 2022, which was the best year for tactical RPGs ever, with Midnight Suns and Triangle Strategy, as well as a Fire Emblem spin-off that translated as many mechanics to Muso as it could, I was ready for the top dog to return and wipe the floor with them. But unfortunately, Fire Emblem Engage is a generic fantasy TRPG with very little to distinguish itself visually. While it sports some of the best character designs in the series, everything else comes up short. But hey, at least it's my current 2023 Game of the Year.